This is Jen Wexler, Director of The Ranger, and you're watching Without Your Head.
Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neil, and I am joined by the returning Jill Gevargizian. I think I said that right. It's always good to have you back.
Very close. Thank you. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, I think I had the Z after the before the I instead of after the I. But
it's Gevargizian.
Right. Yeah, and I practice it all day. I know. I feel terrible. I'm going to edit it so I sound smart for the podcast.
Perfect.
Right.
Fix it in post, as they say.
Exactly. So it would take a lot of editing for me to sound smart, I think, but we'll get to work on it. So you have the Stylist, the campaign to make it into a feature.
Yes, we just launched a Kickstarter for it.
Mm-hmm. And from what I understand, that was always what you wanted to do was to eventually make a feature of the Stylist.
Correct. Yeah. When I first kind of came up with the concept, that was how I envisioned it, that it would be, a full-length film. But at the time, I also knew I needed some more experience as a director and thought it would be, helpful in the end to have a short when we were trying to get the feature made.
Mm-hmm.
As so when you made something we could show.
Yeah. So when you made the short in your mind, is that like one scene of the feature, or just kind of like an idea of what the feature will be?
It's basically like a it doesn't exist within the feature exactly, but it's for capturing like the same time of her life. Like within the short, we were trying to show that she was like on a downward spiral, that she was really messing up, like going to get caught soon.
Mm-hmm. And since you are a hairstylist yourself, is there any of you in the character?
There's a lot of me in the character, but everyone jokes and asks me, do I want to, kill my clients? No, I do not.
All right, fair enough. I think that's where it's going. Have any of your clients ever watched it?
They have, and they've definitely made jokes about, they're like, I'm definitely not taking a drink from you, or I don't want to be the last person here tonight.
All right. So was that the first thing you made, the Stylist?
It was my second short film. Call Girl was my first one. So it was like a daunting thing to take on as my second film, and I didn't go to film school, so it was a big project, and it took us a long time, honestly, to finish the short, but I think because we really spent a lot of time trying to make it exactly how we wanted it.
Mm-hmm. Since you didn't go to a film school, like, how did you as self-taught? How did you learn like the basics?
Really just like as I go. And as a director, you don't like literally actually do any of the stuff. Like I'm not a cinematographer. I'm not an editor. I have edited some things just out of necessity. Mm-hmm. But like as a director, you really just need to know how to communicate what you want from each department. And it was really just a matter of like slowly finding like my film family, as we call it, like the people who could, it takes such a big group of people to really bring a film to life but some people, the positive of going to school is that you do learn every single step, so you can almost on your own make an entire film. Mm-hmm. But me, I've just learned as I went, and luckily I've known a lot of people who have helped me and made the films what they are.
Yeah, I was for the first time we had you on was for Call Girl, which I really loved, and I feel bad saying this, but I told you this is the first time I saw the Stylist. I don't know why I haven't seen it before now, but it was great. I loved it.
Yeah, how did that happen? Because we came on for the other film last year, but somehow you missed the Stylist.
It was the first year was Call Girl, and then it was for 42 Counts, and somehow I did not see the Stylist in between.
Well, I'm glad you liked it and finally saw it.
Yeah, I am too, because it would be bad for the show if I didn't like it. But but I really did like. I really did like it, not just because you're here either.
This film, I've got to interview Joe now. Oh God.
Yeah. And I was so not to give the short's already out there, but so I love the Lou Risconi Maniac homage poster because that's my favorite poster from the original Maniac because it's so like nasty and kind of dirty.
Yeah.
And so when I saw an homage poster, like that's amazing.
Yeah, when he suggested it, I was like, I love it. Oh my God. Just me as a fan of Maniac, I just want it for myself.
Right.
And I thought that was just a cool idea, especially for the Kickstarter, because it's, for almost any horror fan, it's an image that right away. And also it's just us kind of owning the comparison to the film. It's like, we're not ashamed of being similar. In fact, we're proud of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even get that part, so I watched it. I was like, "Oh, well, now it even makes more sense. It's not just like you thought Maniac was cool. There's a connection."
Yeah, and it's not really. I'm not afraid to talk about that she scalps people, and
right.
That's obviously with the short already being in the world, people know that. But even when we were promoting the short, we were like debating how much we would reveal about her, and then I feel like I either read this somewhere or heard it on a podcast, but someone pointed out the idea, they were talking about, twists and reveals and stuff and comparing it to using Texas Chainsaw as an example. You see the title of that movie and you're about to watch all these kids get killed with a chainsaw. There's no secret, right. There's no reveal, and it doesn't take anything away from it. It's still one of the best scary movies of all time. So I just think we don't always need to worry about keeping everything secret, and twists work. When they work, they're amazing. When they don't work, they're horrible. They ruin the whole film.
Uh-huh. Yeah, well, a couple of things there. I think even before you see the beginning of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you probably are tipped off just by the name that there's probably chainsaw involved.
Exactly.
But the actual scalping looked amazing.
Thank you. Our special effects artist, Colleen Kaufman, we spent weeks and weeks putting that to get, preparing it. We bought a wig. She added all this fake skin to the front, fed hair through it. And then the actual application of putting that on our actress was layers, first a bulb cap and then all these disgusting blood and guts and then the actual scalp. And it's when we actually did that on camera, it was terrifying because so it's all these things layered on top of each other. We didn't really exactly know what it was going to look like when we pulled it off. For all we knew, there was something, something we didn't want to be showing, or it wasn't bloody enough, or because when you're working with our budgets, which are little to nothing, we don't, in big fancy movie world, they get to practice this stuff ahead of time.
Right.
But that's a few $1,000 thing just to practice. It's if you're going to practice it, we might as well shoot it. And somehow it was a dream come true on that first try, because it would have been 5 hours of redoing it had we had to.
Yeah.
But it was really kind of stuck when she was pulling it off, which I think in turn made it look more it looks way more disgusting because she's actually
there's a little bit of force there
fighting. Yeah. And she always tells me she's in the middle of shooting it in her head she was oh my God, it's stuck. I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do. And she just kept doing it. I was thank God you just kept going, because somehow we got that in that, one long shot. I was that's disgusting. I love it. Well, the film is more psychological, but also I'm still a huge fan of gore. So I'm trying to bring the two together.
Yeah. I'm pretty much the same boat. And even in the short, you get that because, obviously the gore, it looks great and that scene's awesome. But it's also her dialogue and figuring out why she's not just doing it just for the hell of it. There's a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah, and we'll be able to kind of go more into that in the future, which is why we've been dying to make a longer version so people can learn more about the character.
Mm-hmm. And Najara Townsend, who plays Claire, the stylist, did you know her before you made the movie? Before you did the first Stylist?
I did not. Well, I met her really just at a film festival where Contracted had played, a film that she stars in. If anyone hasn't seen it, she's incredible in it. the feature film about an STD horror film. So I met her at a festival that played in Palm Springs, maybe like 2 or 1 year before we started making the feature or the Stylist short. And really when I just started thinking about who we would cast as the Stylist, I didn't know her on like a personal level. I just kind of, just met her, kind of more fangirled the first time I met her, just got a picture with her and nothing. She kept coming back into my mind when I was thinking about this casting, because I was like, this is a really challenging role. Like, this could be really bad if it's not someone that's like uber talented, basically. She has to go into such an emotional place, that character. And Contracted to me was really just like, it kind of shows you her range of talent. Like, she kind of goes through every emotion in that film. So it's like, this is a perfect example of like an audition for something really emotional. And so I just, through the director of Contracted, contacted her, and she right away was like super, super into it when she read the script. And it just went from there. And I say this all the time, but I don't know sorry, there's my dog. I don't know how this film would be what it is without her. She is the Stylist to me. In fact, like through the feature, when we were possibly going to get it financed with other people, they kind of hint, they were like, would you be open to casting, trying to go for a bigger name? I'm like, hell no. Like, have you seen the short? She is the Stylist.
Yeah.
And she's going to be no matter what.
Yeah. And is that Pepper?
It is one of them is Pepper, who is one of the stars of the movie, my little Chihuahua.
Mm-hmm. Well, or is it she or he? Sorry.
She.
It's Pepper. She. Well, she just wants to get in on the interview, I guess.
She does. She's like, well, hello, I'm part of the freaking movie. I'm not sure she knows she's about to be in a feature film, though. Okay, dog, we're good.
So was she always excited about doing a feature?
Najara?
Yeah.
Yes.
Or Pepper.
Exactly. Najara has been. We've been really trying to get it made for almost 2 years. And finally, when I came to her with this plan, like, what if we do a Kickstarter and just try to do it on our own? Like, God knows how much longer we could be waiting if we don't. And she was pushing for it, maybe even more, because I was still like pretty nervous about it, or not sure if we should do it, or if really the rest of the crew would also be on board. But everyone has been all about it, and her especially. She's been crazy supportive, and she's even been, a part of the process of writing the feature. She's been reading every draft and giving us notes, so she's really ingrained with this character now. Mm-hmm.
So the last 2 years, when you're 3 years, I guess, when you're wanting to make the feature, when before you decided to go with the Kickstarter, was it frustrating trying to raise the money elsewhere to make the feature?
Definitely, but I kind of look at it in 2 different ways. Like, it is frustrating that it's not just easy, for someone to hand over you this giant amount of money. But I also have I think it in like a more realistic, like a realistic perspective, and the idea that like there are thousands upon thousands of filmmakers in my exact position trying to get a feature financed, like at any given second of every day. So I kind of think it's like this magic luck if that ever lands for you. And so I think people get really bitter and sad that this is not happening, and I get it, but it's like, you could only be so lucky. I think we need to not feel so entitled to it. It's like, yes, of course we all want that to happen for us, but no one really necessarily deserves it. Like, that's a huge thing for some person to hand over like $1 million and trust that it's going to make them money in the end.
Yeah.
So it's crazy frustrating in one way, but it's also like, well, it's this huge thing that you're trying to get done. And, what really makes you deserve it any more than all the other people trying to do it?
Mm-hmm. When you did
try to keep a level head about it.
Hmm. When you had the Stylist out and it was on Shudder and it played all the festival stuff, how much did that help your confidence in continuing to make movies?
It was awesome, but I do think I kind of messed up basically not having the feature script ready the second the short started playing festivals, because we had a lot of interest in the film back then. Like a lot of people assumed that's what we were trying to do. Like they would come up to me and be like, "This is a feature, right? Where's the script?" Like people with, big people that work for companies that were exciting. And it took us like at least a year to get the script to a place where we could show it to people. So there's a good chance we missed out on, like that moment. And I was like so down about that for so long. I was like, well, are you just going to be sad that you missed out on it, or like do something about it? But I feel like they always say you're never, like, you got to prepare in a way for like the best possible success. So for instance, if your short does do well, you're already ready with a script to show people. As a year later, they're not going to care anymore.
Unfortunately, yeah. So the whole experience of doing the festivals, because I have some guests on who say festivals, most of them are pro festivals, but I have some people on that say like they're a waste of money. So what are your opinions on the festivals?
I think anyone that says that has not done, made a film that's gotten into festivals yet. And that's why, because festivals like make your career. Like, I mean, it's gotten me so many jobs, and like and actually it makes all the difference to attend the festival. Doesn't matter if you're a short filmmaker or not, but putting yourself in front of all these people, like on a regular basis, that's what it keeps you in their mind. That's how you get jobs. That's how you like grow and start collaborating with other people. Like half the people I've worked with, I've met at festivals, and almost every connection I have in the industry, I've met them at film festivals. I mean, like the Stylist wouldn't have been on Shudder if it didn't play those festivals and do well. So I really think that's the stepping stone to then going on to like directing features or TV. Yeah.
And just myself I just started going to festivals a couple of years ago, as press, and that's how you meet all these people. And it's not like I go there and intending to do that, but everyone's hanging out, and like you said, you make good connections, and if people like you, they want to come on the show or whatever, and it leads to other things. Plus, it's a really good time.
It's all about like that FaceTime. Like, it's so fun, and it's like it makes all the difference for people to be able to meet you. Like you're saying, if you're able to meet these people in person, they're way more likely to like come on your show or do whatever because they've actually met you as a human being. Versus we all know each other on social media, but it really makes a difference.
Yeah. So, speaking of festivals, your newest movie premiered at FrightFest. One Last Meal.
Yes, that was actually our international premiere.
Okay, international. Sorry.
But it was awesome. We had our initial premiere at Cinepocalypse in Chicago in June.
Okay.
So that was the only other one, and so this was definitely our biggest festival that we played yet, and it went over so well. The crowd at FrightFest are like horror fanatics, so they just, some crowds you watch movies with and they don't like react like audibly to the movie, and this crowd was like just like all our jokes landed and our gross out. Everyone was making noise. So I'm like, yes, now you can tell it's working.
Yeah.
When they're quiet, you can't tell, or it's not working.
Right. Yeah, I was at FrightFest last year. It was huge, and it was an awesome time. My first time ever in England, and I had a great time. Had you been to FrightFest before?
One time, 5 years ago with Call Girls. So it was in a different theater in the same like area, but this year it did seem like brought up 10 notches. I was like, this is like fancy as hell. Like that theater was so nice.
Yeah, it's really I heard some
stairs and stuff.
Yeah, even the steps going up. It's like it looks really cool. And there was a guy had a tattoo of FrightFest. I was like, wow, this is a real big deal.
Jonathan Hughes. I bet he's listening
Yes,
right
yes,
now.
that's it. Yeah, he probably is. Yeah, good guy.
Hell yeah.
He went to see every movie when I was there. I don't even know how that's physically possible, but he saw every movie.
Every single movie? That's
Yeah.
not possible.
Yeah. I didn't think it was unless he's like jumping in and out of theaters, but I don't know. Or maybe as a clone. I don't know. So where does One Last Meal go from FrightFest?
Well, we are actually having our local Kansas City, where I'm from, our Kansas City premiere this Saturday night. And so there's a lot of us from the crew and cast will be there. But then I'm trying to see if we've actually officially announced some of these. We are playing Midwest Monster Fest next weekend on the 14th. I think I might drive up to it because it's not too far away. I'm going to go ahead and say this. They're not listening. We're playing Monster Fest in Australia, which is like it's like their Fright Fest, like the biggest.
Yeah.
So I'm psyched. And normally they hold it in Melbourne, Australia, but this year they're doing this crazy thing that should happen in more places. They're hosting the festival in 5 different cities in Australia at the exact same time.
Oh, that's pretty
like
sweet.
Sydney, Melbourne, and like 3 others. But that's a big one that like I feel like it's kind of like the similar lineup as Fright Fest. Mm-hmm. And the Stylist actually won Best Actress at Monster Fest the year that we played it there. I've never been in Australia so far away, and we're all poor filmmakers. So I'm like, once I make a feature, I'll go that far away.
Yeah. That's a good plan. Yeah, that's a very long flight.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if we've announced any other. I've definitely submitted One Last Meal to lots of the horror festivals, which are all those lineups are coming out like right now through October, and there's lots of things I'm not allowed to announce yet, I feel like.
That's fine. So is it a lot of work to have the Stylist campaign going on the same time you're promoting One Last Meal at the festivals, or is it like a good thing because while you're at the festivals you can also plug the campaign?
That was exactly my plan, but it is a lot of work.
Sure. So I guess both is the answer.
Yeah, we scheduled the campaign to kind of coincide with like genre film festival season, as I call it. Like it kind of just gets crazy from August through November. But yeah, the campaign is going. We've still got a lot to raise, but we have raised a lot so far. But Kickstarters are definitely a nerve-wracking thing on a daily basis. I'm like, what can I be doing more to make this thing go further?
Right, and you don't want to annoy people, so it's like, it's about halfway, a little under halfway, I think. What are some of the? You can watch the full short. Yeah, you can watch the full short on our Kickstarter page, so you can basically judge that way. You're like, watch the short. If you like it, give us your life savings, right? Right. Exactly. And you could be like, you could be like an executive producer if you give your life savings.
Exactly. That's worth it, I feel like.
Yeah,
no, I agree. We do have some cool rewards, like, but also I like to stress to people that like everything helps. I don't know if anyone ever feels weird about like doing what they would assume is maybe too small of an amount, but everything gets us up there. So, there's rewards from $10 up to $10,000. But just for $25, you basically get to see the film when it's done. And then, like you said, up to $10,000, you're talking like an executive producer, get to come to set, go to dinner with all of us producers, come to the festival premiere. And then there's a million options between there and there.
Yeah. So, where did you film One Last Meal? Was that an actual prison?
Yeah, we shot it in Jefferson City, which is the capital Missouri, but it's the Missouri State Penitentiary. It closed in 2004 and opened in 1836. But what's crazy, you go inside this place and you'll be like, there's no way this was safe or okay to be like open only 15 years ago. It looks like you go in there and you'd think like it closed like at least 100 years ago. It's in like such a state of like, it looks like apocalypse happened inside there. But so for a horror film or for photography or anything, it's like a dream place to go to. They keep it open for tourism and for like shooting. I'm surprised they haven't shot. I think they've shot a decent amount of like those ghost shows up in there, but I don't know how it hasn't been used for like major feature films yet, because it's like a dream. You can, build something like that with the $1 billion. It's just beautiful. We only use like one building of like the 3 giant stone, they look like something from like Europe. Like we don't even make stuff like that anymore here. Mm-hmm. It was a dream to shoot in, but it was a lot of work to get the permission. It's owned by the state of Missouri, so we had to get permission from the state board and do all this stuff.
Yeah. Now, which came
insurance.
First? Which came first? The idea for One Last Meal, or did you guys get permission to film there? Then then came up with the idea.
We had the idea first. Actually, it was written by my friend Eric Stolz, mm-hmm. who horror fans might know his work. He wrote that werewolf feature from a few years ago called Late Phases. Mm-hmm.
The old werewolf.
Came out like 5 years ago. Yeah, so this is an old man werewolf. And Eric and I have been connected on a couple features that we've been trying to get made for a while. And so I asked him randomly, I was like, do you have any short film scripts that I could, I might be interested in that I could make? And he's like, yeah, I have this one laying around from a couple of years ago. And he's, I'm always stressing to him that we need to write stuff that we can actually afford to make, like think about location and stuff like that. So the first thing he says, just to prepare me, he's like, yeah, I have one, but it's set in a prison. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm like right away think, I go right into logistics. I'm like, a prison is going to be impossible. There's no way you could actually probably legally shoot in one that's running, because there would be inmates around. So I just immediately Googled abandoned prisons in Missouri. I was like, are there any of these around? Just for the hell of it. Right after I read his script, because I loved it. I was like, wow, this script, I liked it so much because it really I felt like it had a lot to say, socially, politically, everything, while being funny and super gross. So that kind of hits all the things I'm interested in. And so I was like, okay, I love this. How the hell are we going to find a prison? And just searched it, discovered that. And I was like, how did I never know this existed? Because I'm the kind of person that likes to just go out and see things like that and tour it. I never knew it was even there. And I'm like, holy shit, I just want to go to this place, let alone shoot in it. And they were so friendly right away. I emailed them. They emailed me within 24 hours, saying I could come down and see it whenever, and they'd show me around. And I was like, this seems like it's happening. I found an amazing prison. We're going to make this movie. And I got to go down 3 times before we actually shot, and kind of have just get my own private tour while we're trying to figure out where we're going to shoot. So I'm obsessed with that place now. What sucks is it was hit by a tornado this past spring, and part of it was actually damaged. So it hasn't reopened since then. And so I'm really hoping they get it back, because I love when places will actually keep something like that up for the sake of history, instead of there's so many beautiful buildings in this country that they just let literally just completely deteriorate. And they just leave them, abandon them completely. Yeah. So I just don't want that to happen to this prison.
Right. Yeah. Is it when you're inside the prison? Is there an atmosphere there? Is there a weird feeling, being in this old prison?
It was the scariest place I've ever been, and I would describe it. The feeling inside there is festering. This whole project's made me become obsessed with prison and reading about it and watching all these documentaries. And when you really think about prison, of course, this is a very sad, horrible place. It's just full of years and years of just negative energy and everything. There's nothing ever hopeful or positive that's happening in a place like that. So I feel like it's infected with that feeling. I don't know that I necessarily believe in ghosts and all that, but it feels like haunted, not in the sense of ghost, but just like it just feels not pleasant in there at all. And it's like just a heavy feeling. And we shot in the like actual death row, those cells we were using, which is like two levels into a basement down into the ground. And we shot in the real gas chamber where like actually people were killed. And that room is the scariest feeling room, not surprisingly. It's a building completely on its own, like hundreds of feet away from the rest of the prison, which I learned that's a common thing, which I think that says a lot about the psychology behind even these like wardens and captains that work in these prisons. Like, even though they enforce this death penalty, even they have to keep it like out of sight, out of mind in like a totally different building. But in that building specifically, actually, everyone says this place is haunted, which I feel like they say any old place is haunted anymore. But in that gas chamber building, all of our footage from the camera, the camera normally picks up sound, but we use, like our nice sound that's recorded through the mics. But so the camera sound completely cut out, like in all of our footage from only inside that gas chamber. Like it's just like gone. So if anything, if we have any haunted proof, it's in there, I guess. Like, so for no reason whatsoever, the audio is just like complete static.
That's very weird. I believe Terrible Troy has joined us.
Hello.
Hello. How's everybody doing today?
Good. You scared me there for a second.
I'm a scary man. That's why I'm Terrible Troy.
Yes, you are very scary. It's very true.
It's true.
So I don't want to give, like, we said it was a prison, but it's hard to talk about a lot of shorts without giving, away what it's about. But as you said, there's a lot of stuff in here, and it really does have a story arc for a short film.
Don't sit on this clean stuff, y'all. I just cleaned all that. Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to mute that. Shit.
Yeah, all I was saying was that One Last Meal has a lot of stuff going on. It really has a good story arc for a short film.
Thank you. Yeah, Eric is just so talented. Eric Souls, who, that's the thing, is like he even actually did the most recent draft of The Stylist. I brought him onto that project because he's just blown me away with his talent. Like, he really also makes these characters feel like so alive on the page. It's like a lot of people can't write dialogue super well, or it all sounds like the same, coming from the same voice. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was interesting. That film was actually shorter than The Stylist, but One Last Meal, so much happens. Like, it is like a full story. It's like, we are shooting so many freaking scenes for this 10-minute long movie. Holy shit.
Yeah.
It was like more scenes than I ever had dealt with. So it was like, in a lot of ways, a lot bigger of a project than The Stylist short was.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I dug it a lot. So I'm glad it's been at some festivals and has some coming up. Some you can't announce yet, but it's good.
Hopefully more soon.
Yeah.
Always waiting for those acceptance/rejection emails.
Uh-huh. Is it hard? Because I have a short in festival, so I got my first rejection letter right away. Actually, it was disheartening. But besides that, it's been doing. Is that hard to deal with when you get rejection letters?
It's not too bad. It's like I just kind of accepted that it's just part of it. Like, there are certain festivals I'm really hoping to get into, even more than others. I kind of can kind of tell my chances. So I'm like realistic with myself. Like, I understand also like what it's like to program. And it's not always about like just as plain as simple, like how good is your film? It's like, does it fit in with the other films? Does the runtime fit in? Does the theme fit in? It's like, so I tell people the longer your movie is, the less chance you have of getting into festivals. And so there's so many things that go into it, so you can't take it too personally, but, of course, some of them bum you out, but it's just, yeah.
Yeah.
I admittedly will get bummed out, like maybe for a morning when I first hear about a certain one, and I'm like, I knew. I mean, I know going into it, I don't have any expect to get in anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I just think you got to like keep yourself in check like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that way you appreciate it.
That's very true. When you talked about runtime, I've noticed that because I've been doing more festivals lately. Lately, there's some things I don't even know what to call them. It's weird to call them shorts, but some are like 40 minutes or 36 minutes, and it's. I guess you should just make. It should be the length of whatever it is to tell your story, but it is weird when you watch a short that's like 38 minutes long.
Yeah, it's interesting. Some of those though do really well, and it's kind of like you said, like sometimes it's just like that's the time that's necessary, or that's all that's necessary for whatever the story is. Because I bet a lot of people maybe have something that would work best at that type of like that awkward runtime when they might stretch it out into a feature, or try to chop it way down.
Yeah.
But that is a hard place to be, because I would guess it would be really hard to get into festivals. The longer it is, the better it needs to be. But then it's weird. I feel like with features, there's less competition because there's less made. There's more shorts made than there are features.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does seem to last, I don't know, maybe 5 years or like so. The shorts have really become popular. Or at least there's a lot of them made.
Yeah.
Well,
and it's nice that there's kind of been attention on them outside of festivals, like Shudder picking some up. And now there's that new service called Alter that's just like available through YouTube or Facebook, but they specifically just stream short horror films.
Oh,
and it's free for anyone to watch them. You got to check out Alter. I've got Call Girl and 42 Counts are on there, and they do really good with promoting stuff. Like, not my short films, but plenty of their shorts have gotten over like millions of views. They're cool. They're owned by Gunpowder and Sky, a bigger company that, like, they're part of producing Cam and a new film called Villains that's coming out right now. So they're kind of connected to the feature world too. Yeah, it's cool that finally there's kind of a place to actually see them outside of just festivals.
Yeah, because I used to bring that up when people would be on the show, because it was almost like once a short was done with the festival run, it would just kind of disappear. But it's nice that there's some homes for them. So, because a lot of them are great, and there's nowhere to really see them. But if there's platforms for people to watch them, that's awesome.
I've always thought that it's kind of surprising that maybe places like Netflix don't pick up more short films. Even so, because people have like no attention span anymore. All people watch anymore are episodes. So a short film is basically like that. Like,
yeah, you could sit down.
I
and
feel like they could be
watch
putting them out more. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Which I saw, this is off topic, but they're gonna stop doing the binge. Instead of like putting the whole series of the whole season of a series up, they're gonna put them up one a week. One episode a week, like a regular television network. I don't know how that'll work.
I can see why they would do that.
Yeah, because I'm sure like people just buy it for like when Stranger Things comes on, like they get it for 1 month and then they cancel.
Yeah. Oh yes, smart. They don't give a shit about us. They just want to keep our money. I'm like, they're doing it for us, so we don't just watch a whole thing. People are gonna like lose their minds if they have to wait a whole week to watch it.
Yeah. There is something about watching waiting a week per episode, though. I do think like you said appreciate things, but you do appreciate it more, I think, if you got to wait a week.
I do like. I mean, I miss that about things that are on Netflix. I do like that. It's like every week are like, there's a new episode. It's exciting.
Yeah.
So I wonder if people though would just wait then until the whole thing's up there and then get it at the end. That's probably true. I do know plenty of people that do, we do that with like HBO and stuff.
Yeah. There's always a way around, I guess. But then if it's something you really like, you you'd worry about someone spoiling it for you on Facebook or Twitter.
Yeah. You just can't pay attention to anything. Everything's spoiled out there anymore.
Oh yeah, that's very true. Jake Martin, who plays Boyle in One Last Meal, had you worked with him before?
Yeah, I was actually part of helping produce a short film called Pity, directed by John Pata, that Jake stars in. I don't know, you might know John Pata made a feature film called Deadweight before that Jake was also in. And I think I met John at a convention when Deadweight was playing, and we became friends. And then I helped with Pity, which is a cool short film. It's like a dark thriller. It's actually based on a poem written by Pig Destroyal, the metal band. So it's kind of like a weird, dark-ass poem set to film. But you guys should look it up. It's online. But we worked on that, and he's kind of always playing these dark, evil characters. So I ended up typecasting him again. But right when I read this, I was like, Jake is perfect for this. Oh, my God. And I was excited. He's played a lot of roles that were smaller, and even though it's a short, I was like, this will really, like, showcase how, like, crazy he can be. And I thought he was awesome. He was in Wisconsin, so he came down here to work on it, and I was stoked to finally get him in something. And it was like the first thing I made with, like, it's all male characters. I don't have most of my stuff is almost all female characters, and this is the first thing. But it's really integral to the story. It's kind of major theme in here. It's like toxic masculinity and such. But yeah, Jake is awesome, and he's even in the new film coming out. I think it did come out this week. Gags, the new it's another clown film. Lauren Ashley Carter is also in it. Some of my producers on The Stylist helped produce that, so we're connected in the film world. But everyone, should check out Gags. It just came out on VOD.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I've seen it on Facebook, but I've not seen the actual movie.
It's a lot of fun. It's interesting. It's kind of it's found footage / not. It's awesome. It's like all these different things coming together. Like Lauren Ashley Carter is who you would know from like Jugface and The Woman and tons of stuff. She plays like a newscaster, so it keeps cutting back to the news. The film is completely kind of riffing off that. When there were a lot of like clown sightings out, like for real. Like just clowns standing outside, just standing there.
I remember. Yeah.
It was inspired by that stuff. In fact, the filmmakers behind Gags, they did like their own stunt where they put Gags the clown out in Madison. Wait, I'm fucking this up. What town? Green Bay, Wisconsin. And like people were actually freaking out about it, and it became this viral thing. And then they made a short film, and then they went on to make a feature. But really, Gags went viral out of Green Bay a couple of years ago, like just the actual sighting. And so it's all it's inspired by that whole madness.
Yeah. So I guess questions here from Keys Williams, who actually she came to listen to the show last time you were on, and she stuck around, which is good. But she's back here with some questions. What did you find as a challenge in turning your short film The Stylist into a feature film script?
Well, the biggest challenge so far is getting it financed, to be honest. Because like that's the only thing standing between us and like making the movie. We've had the script for years. And it's really not, a lot of people will write for, like if you're trying to make a movie for like $50,000, you'll write something very specific for that. Like we see so many horror movies that take place all in like one house with like 3-5 people. And that's what those kind of films are written for. And this film really isn't. It's like a lot of locations. It's a much bigger scope of a film. And so the biggest challenge now is actually us trying to figure out how we will accomplish, protect as much of what we have written within like a much smaller budget.
Mm-hmm.
Which when you actually break it down and look at it in like days and time, and I'm like, holy shit, this is going to take a lot of time to shoot. So the biggest challenge is like, I think accepting what you're actually capable of doing and rewriting it for that.
Yeah. Show us once in a while, is there any film legend, living or dead, that you would love to collaborate with?
Oh my God. There's a million, but the first person that comes to mind is David Fincher, the director. I call him like the king of crime thrillers, which I love crime thrillers. I would love to make stuff like that, not just horror. Like Seven, Zodiac was like two of my favorite films of all time. And on that note, huge fan of Mindhunter, which he's directing almost half of that show.
Which is awesome.
But I don't know about. I feel like he doesn't need to collaborate with people, but I would just want to meet him and like learn from him, have like a 10-hour conversation.
Yeah.
Or have him just mentor me through an entire filmmaking process.
Sure.
Because I've studied a lot of stuff about him. I just know he's like meticulous about everything, and so I try to be that way. I think that's what makes him so good.
Yeah. I know you're a fan of Mindhunter, right?
Yes. I'm not through this new season yet, though.
I'm not either.
I'm excited.
Troy, have you finished it?
I haven't. I'm, I think, 3 episodes in. I really dig it so far, though.
Yeah. And not only is the show itself so good, but all the people that play the serial killers looks like perfect.
Oh my God. Yeah. I just saw some meme the other day with like 2 of the actors side by side with the real guys. Mm-hmm. And it was something like, Netflix, what the fuck is going on? Like these look too much like, are these the real people? What's going on?
Yeah.
Like what's amazing is that a lot of that's like prosthetic makeup, because they're really making their faces look like freaking identical.
Yeah. And it's not in a way, usually when they do that, like they just don't, they look like artificial, but they don't in Mindhunter. They look great.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to is it the Museum of Murder or the Museum of Death in Hollywood, where they have a lot of art from the actual serial killers?
Yeah. I actually went there with our friend Lawrence Harvey.
Oh, awesome.
When this was like a dork out moment for me, but I got to visit him in LA when he was shooting Human Centipede 3. Uh-huh. And I didn't get to go on set or anything. I would have died too. But while I was there, we went there. We did all kinds of, creepy tourism type stuff like that. Right. And yeah, that place is no joke. Like, people might think it's some kind of funny novelty type thing. I'm like, no, this is actually very disturbing museum.
Yeah. That first room where it's all the art of the a lot of the whole thing is cool, but that first room was my favorite part of it.
They definitely, I remember them having Gacy's art, but I can't remember other art.
Yeah, it was who was it? It's the guy who talked to the dog. Who's the guy who talks to the dog, Troy? He's in Mindhunter.
Oh, I can't think now.
That does not sound familiar to me, but he's anyway, he's a famous serial killer who supposedly got it from talking to his dog.
Son of Sam.
It's the Son of Sam. There we go.
Yeah.
And I know it's terrible to laugh at this, but there's like a cartoon that he drew, it's panels, and it's how to catch and kill a fat woman. And it's like step 1, buy like meatballs, and he makes a meatball sub and then lures a woman, and he's drawn this like, and I'm laughing. It's funny to me, but it's also terrible because it's a real person who actually killed people. And it's so strange that's there. And what was the weirdest part is he has all these little smiley faces on the meatballs and the meatball sub.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, yeah. I recommend it if you're a weirdo. But yeah, I was.
When I was out there,
go on. Sorry.
I also went out to this connects to our Mindhunter situation. I also went to the Manson, where the Spawn Ranch used to be.
Oh, yeah.
And we actually walked out to where that, cave is, where they, took this infamous picture. And it's just, land. But what's creepy as hell is you get down to this cave in the middle of, wilderness. And the cave is, wiped clean with that tiny picture of the Manson family sitting in the middle of it, framed, with this big rock that has Manson family carved into it.
Mm-hmm.
And so someone is clearly watching the cave, keeping it clean of debris. And I'm because it would be full of leaves and shit. It was just perfectly spick and span. My friend and I are down there and we look up on this small mountain thing behind us. And there's a fucking dude up there on a 4-wheeler. And I'm is this one of Manson's long lost family members just watching the cave? Is he gonna kill
his grandson up there?
And I was clearly this is kept up by someone who's either a fanatic or someone who cares about these people, is looking at it as a memorial or something. Yeah, it was creepy as hell. Wild.
Yeah, about that time when you said you were out there with Lawrence when he was filming Human Centipede 3, I was going to be one of the centipedes and the big thing, but then when they asked me, you're an LA native, because he had to be an LA native, and I said no, and so that couldn't happen. But everyone afterwards told me I should have just lied and said I lived out in LA, and I could have been one of the 500 centipedes. Yeah.
Yeah, they just tried to fool you. I feel like they probably were worried you wouldn't be there, but you should have lied and said you lived in LA for sure.
Yeah. So I missed my chance being in the Human Centipede film, unfortunately. Are you looking forward to his new movie, Tom Sixx's new movie?
How do we say the name of that movie?
Well, that's why I just called it Tom Sixx's new movie.
Onion Club?
I sometimes do that with your short, too, Dale, because I'm unsure of how to pronounce it.
Yeah, well, we just played it at Buffalo Dreams Fantastic Film Festival, and the Greg Lamberson's a great guy, but he just kept calling it Neil's belly button movie. He's I can't remember the name of it.
That's the easiest way to go with that.
Was funny to me, but the Okean, I don't know how you say it. I don't know. I'm
club, not sure what to think about it, but I'm going to be seeing it as soon as possible, though.
Right? Yeah, I think I'm right with you there. I don't know what to think of it either, but yeah, I'm definitely going to see it.
I feel like it looks like it's in a world where it's it's focusing on the rich 1% that doesn't give a shit about anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
But all we've seen from this trailer is these all these rich women in a room masturbating to footage of the World Trade Centers being flown into. That's literally what the trailer is.
Yeah.
So Tom Sixx doesn't like to upset people or anything. So. Yeah. That doesn't tell us fucking anything. Except for it's going to be wildly offensive, which we already knew.
Right, yeah. I think you'd be let down if it wasn't, if he just made a romantic comedy or something.
Exactly.
Well, that's what he's going to do to just weird people out, and everyone will be scratching their heads going,
what
the hell did I just watch? Yeah.
Yeah. I know this isn't the proper term, but when we went to Hollywood, LA for the Human Centipede 3 premiere, he had also a little person. He had a little person with him who dressed like him and would carry an ashtray for him while you smoke. It's very bizarre.
Ridiculous.
Yes, it was.
Oh, people don't do that. Never mind. Okay, we're good. We're good.
I probably would if I had the means to do so. But.
It's hard if I have a dwarf that does that, though. Is it?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. I guess I'm almost a dwarf. I'm 5'5".
Will you be my ashtray, Neil?
No.
All right.
Yeah.
That's not surprising though to me because he's just Tom Sixx is such a character. I do like that also about him. I like how he's like made a character of himself. Like, that's not even him. We don't know who he is. It's like
Right.
Marilyn Manson-esque. Like, or then the fact that he would do that, I feel like a lot of people would obviously be offended by that happening.
Mhm.
But it's also, I think he's like, also from this era of like freak shows and like that being part of art. And I know Lawrence Harvey is, and, but it is, it's a weird thing because back in the old days, we would basically, anyone who was different in any way, we would like put them in a fucking freak show. Like, that's horrible.
Right.
But it's not shocking at all to me that he'd walk around doing something like that.
Yeah. I enjoyed it, so it was good. I remember when we went to see the Human Centipede 3 premiere, and Akihiro Kitamura, who was in he's the front Pete in part 1, and after the film I said, "Oh, what did you think of the movie?" And he looked like shell shocked, and he just went, crazy movie man." Let's see. We got an interesting question from George James Fraser. He wants to know what flavor wrap snacks pair the best with a Cabernet.
Oh man, I should have been prepared. He said he was going to be asking this question. With a Cabernet, I'm sad to say I haven't had them together, but I'm going to go with just my favorite flavor, period, which is Migos sour cream with a dab of ranch.
All right. What are wrap snacks? I've seen, I follow you on Twitter, so I see you tweeting about wrap snacks, but I'm not really, I don't really know what they are.
Yeah, you guys got to get hip to them up there. They are, which I'm surprised they're not out there because the guy that started them is from Pennsylvania. But I know way too much about wrap snacks. They are chips. Well, they do all different things. There's like chips, popcorn, like puffs, like cheesy puff type things. But they have like at least 15 different flavors now at this point. And each flavor is like named after, like it's a rapper's flavor. Or like some of them have multiple, like a hip hop artist. So it'll be like Cardi B, like right after she won all those Grammys. I don't know how they landed this deal because it got them on like crazy on the map wrap snacks. They announced like 4 flavors that were just Cardi B's the day after she won all those Grammys. But like, so there's so many. Like there's some from back in the day. Like Trina has like 2 or maybe 4 different flavors. But it'll be like Cardi B's habanero barbecue, or it's so silly. Like Little Romeo's cheddar barbecuing with my honey, and they try to like name them silly things. So I saw them for years at like convenience stores and stuff, and I never tried them because I think I just was like, these can't actually be any good. Like right. you see the bags, and you're like, the bags look so like they're so colorful and design, like pictures of the wrappers like right on the front of the bag. And you're like, is this even real? It just looks like a novelty. But then I finally tried them a little over a year ago, actually, when we were shooting this trailer for a film we're trying to get made. And my producers brought every single flavor to set because they had never seen them. And I'm like, oh my, so we got to try every single one. And I'm like, holy shit, these are actually good. And I've have become obsessed ever since, basically.
All right.
To the point where I'm like, how am I not sponsored by these things yet?
Right. Yeah, I thought maybe you were, because I do see. Well, that does speak more highly of them if there's no actual connection. You just really do like them.
Nope, they're not paying me to say this, but they should.
Yeah, right. You're right. The official sponsor of the Stylist, the wrap snacks.
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
We can put them in the background of every shot. Product placement.
Yeah, just sitting around the shop. Yeah, that works. Phil Healy wants to know, how will the Chiefs fail this year?
Phil's trying to start a fight. How will they fail?
Yes.
Well, they won't, first of all. So that's all I have to say about that. First game is this Sunday, first real game. He knows I'm a super fan. I got season tickets to the Chiefs this year.
Oh, nice.
I'm psyched.
Mahomes is the man.
Yeah, for the first time in 20 years or something, we've had like one of the best teams in the country. So it's really exciting.
See, I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, so I can feel your pain on that.
We, like last year I didn't have season passes, but a group of friends of mine, they've gone for years. And I went to, I think like the last 5 or 6 games last year, like both playoffs games. And it was just so exciting. I'm like, next year I've got to like go in for real with you guys and get a seat to every game. But of course this year, because we did so well last year, all the prices like shot up like double. You could get like season tickets for like $1, a couple of years ago. And now they actually cost a little bit of money.
Yeah. So you mentioned in the campaign that Texas Chainsaw Massacre is inspiration, one of the inspirations for the Stylist. What are some of the horror movies that you watched that made you become a horror movie fan?
Definitely, I think of Scream when you say that, because that came out at like a prime age for me. I was probably like 13 or 14. But I started watching horror a little bit younger than that. Too young, but that's the best time, right? You have to sneak them when you're young and they're terrifying. Right. But Candyman is a big one for me. And then I think Scream was like a new film for me that really like kind of, I felt like it was like a education in film, because in horror films, especially because it had so many references to others. Mm-hmm. And I actually remember finding this website back then that listed out all these nods to other films within Scream. And at that age, I didn't know what half of these movies were. So I kind of used this list as like, I need to see every single movie on this list, and then I will be an expert. I was at that prime time to love all of the 90s teen horror movies. Like, I love that shit. Mm-hmm. Love Idle Hands, Final Destination, all that stuff.
Yeah, I Know What You Did Last Summer. I guess that would have been 90s.
Hell yeah. Which is funny to rewatch, like, because you compare, like, Scream was actually a badass movie compared to I Know What You Did Last Summer, meaning, like, it's more adult. Scream is. I Know What You Did Last Summer is definitely geared towards teens. Like, there's, like, no gore in I Know What You Did Last Summer. It's very, like, I feel like it's probably PG-13. But still has a huge place in my heart.
Yeah.
I think I still have my VHS of I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Do you still have a working VCR?
Yes. Well, I haven't tried it in a while, so I'm assuming it's still working.
Assuming it works. Right. About that physical media, since you're a filmmaker, do you see that continuing? Because that's always something people talk about.
I don't know. I feel like the fanatics, the horror fans, like our people, definitely still like to have physical copies.
Yeah, I have a big stack of Blu-rays and DVDs right here next to my head. Yeah.
But so many, like, I feel like your average movie watcher, someone who's not like a fanatic, they don't give a shit about owning movies. So I can see like the issue, like, will we be able to sustain like creating them? I think I would like them to, because that's still also the best way to watch something. Like, you're not getting the best picture or sound or anything when you're streaming. But it is, I think there's a lot of positives about streaming. I feel like it gives, people a way less of an excuse to steal stuff. There's still so many people that, steal everything they watch, which I think we need to shame those people as much as humanly possible.
I agree. I've been I was kicked out of some horror group on Facebook once because they were all sharing like links to download. It was like new. I think it was like Turbo Kid at the time. Yeah, and I was just like, "This is not." And then they all attacked me when I was like, "This isn't a good way to." And they were. I was somehow like the villain in it. And I got banned from the group. I was just like, "This is so bizarre."
You don't want to be a part of that group, and all those people need to know, like, and it's even more frustrating to me to think like that these like fans that think that they're actually fans of something and they're going to steal from it. Like, that's fucking insane. And it's like, especially a movie like Turbo Kid, maybe they think because they've heard of it, like, oh, this must be made by millionaires. No, that is like a tiny film that needs all of its money made back. Like, a film like that doesn't make its money back, then those people that financed it, they never make another movie. People don't realize that there's actual repercussions to this. Like, you don't support that movie, that filmmaker may never get to make another movie because you stole it. Like, it doesn't make, oh my God, it pisses me off. Especially you say you're a fan of this, don't steal from something you like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. One of our first guests on the show, I think it was on our 6th episode in 2006, was Adam Green. It was right before Hatchet came out, or right after Hatchet came out, right around that, I think, right around the time. And he was saying that, like, this was back on MySpace. He was saying, like, people on MySpace would message him, like, they love the movie, and he'd like, so where'd you see it? And they would just openly talk about downloading it. And he'd be like, well, could you at least go, if it's not played in your area and you did download it, like, go buy a ticket online, so at least, with some money. And like, they'd get mad at him and call him greedy, and it was very bizarre.
That's crazy.
I think it's a lot of people's minds. It's just like a cheaper way to get something, as opposed to like you're actually stealing it.
Well, I think it's like the large part of it is that because it's not a like material thing that you can like touch. It doesn't feel like you're stealing. Like it's like psychologically you don't feel as bad because you're not like actually taking something. And but people, I'm like, just because it's not physical doesn't make it any different. It's like, and I feel like all those people will defend it, and I'm like, well, if you walked into the grocery store every single day and stole something, I feel like you probably wouldn't defend that. You probably would know it's wrong.
Right.
But something like just because it's a file and it's there, it's not like wrong. I don't know. Yeah. Especially when you can like pretty much find anything online to watch for like a couple of dollars.
That's something I always bring up because, like you said, now like almost anything is like at the most it's gonna be like $3 or maybe $5 if it's really new. So you could just go rent it.
Yeah, it's not like back in the day when you had to like hunt things down and get a bootleg copy of something from a comic book convention or something like that.
I will say it is different if it's something that it just isn't released.
Yeah.
Like still not cool, but I mean, if there's just no other way you could ever watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Troy bought the bootleg Fantastic Four. Right. Yeah. That's how Troy and I would watch the really great movie Fantastic Four movie.
Oh yeah.
Because it was never released. But actually, I think it's the best with a lot of things.
Unfortunately, it is.
Mm-hmm.
But then I find it frustrating that I'm like, why isn't every movie in the world like available to rent on Amazon?
Yeah, you think it should be.
They just should all be.
I'm always shocked when they're not now, though. It's so strange. I don't know why I think they have like this limitless library. What the hell do you mean they don't have that? No, freak out.
Yeah. It is funny, though, because I do have like all these DVDs and Blu-rays in like every room. And sometimes if I have a guest on, instead of trying to find the movie, if it's like somebody from like a big like Friday 13th part, whatever, I'll just see like, oh, it must be streaming on like Netflix, or just because it's easier just to go do that than to go find my copy.
Okay.
I know it's very stupid.
God. I have seriously done this too. Like I have definitely searched for movies that I own.
Right.
I'm like, are you serious? I have to like get up and like put it in my DVD player?
Yeah, come on now.
Yeah, there's all these steps involved. Exactly.
Right. It's not just a push a button and boom, you're there.
Yeah. So, I have the link on the website, but how do people find the Kickstarter for The Stylist?
Well, you could either just search it on Kickstarter or on my website, which is sixxtape.com with 2 X's. There's a link to it right there on the homepage, and you can even watch like some of my other films on there if you would like.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I've ever asked this. What is the origin of the Sixx name, Jill Sixx?
Really, it's just Sixx has been my lucky number since I was a little kid. It's always been the number I picked for everything. When I was younger, I didn't know like any devil connection. You know, I think it was just because it was my birthday is February 6th. I really don't know the original reasoning for it, but I do remember when I picked it for I think I was playing soccer in 4th grade, and I picked it for like my jersey, and the guy was like, "That's a very unlucky number," and it just like. At that point, I was like, well, I was going to prove him wrong. I'm like, well, I want it. It's my favorite number. And it just kind of developed over the years. And then when I became obsessed with horror movies and all things evil, my mom said the wrong thing to me when I was younger. She's like, the horror movies don't bother me, just ones about the devil. Then, of course, I was like, okay, now I'm only watching movies about the devil. Sweet. But then I also fell in love with, like, I actually started with reading a book about Nikki Sixx and Motley Crue, and was really inspired by just his story and how he really like envisioned that band and then made it a thing. So at one point I was really just like stealing his name as like a fun nickname, and it became so much more than bigger than I thought it would be. And I'm like, I don't really want to be like, I don't want to have a nickname as a director. I want to have my name. Like I'm not, that's like, that works for like a host type thing or something, but like I'm me, I'm not a character directing. So I was like, as a director, I'm going to go back to my name, but keep that Sixx around because people know me that way. And like you guys experienced, my last name is not easy to say.
It isn't. Which it's a cool name. I'll give you that. And I do practice it every time you're on. And I nail it. Then right when we go live, I always kind of. This time I think I was the closest in the third appearances.
You did do a good job.
I am Neil's witness because like he'll get a name down, and then at the last second, I think he's like just doubts himself, and then throws it out the window and goes with a different pronunciation and screws up a name.
Yeah. It's not too. It's too well. The guy who directed a Serbian film, that was a tough one. Srđan Spasojevic, but it's.
I was gonna say, what is his name?
I think I practice it so much I just have it memorized now. But I might be totally mispronouncing it. So. You've never seen the movie?
I have not seen that. Nope, I've been scared too.
I like it. I actually think it's a well-made movie and very well acted.
Yeah, I agree.
But it definitely isn't for everybody. It's there's some definitely tough scenes to watch. In a way, I liked it better the second time because then like the real crazy scenes are coming, so you kind of watch it more as a movie as opposed to just like, hey, newborn porn is coming up today. But
exactly. I think that once I watch it, it'll probably be not as horrible because I have built it up in my mind for so long.
Oh yeah, yep.
But I've often worried some of those kind of films that are like super disturbing like that. I'm like before I watched them for so many years, I think like I'm not gonna like it. This is like that's all it is, and a lot of them have surprised me. Like, wow, this is actually like a good film. It's not just disturbing.
Right. Yeah, honestly, going into Human Centipede, I felt like I wouldn't like it. I just thought, well, what is it? He sews these guys ass to mouth, but what happens after that? But then I watched it, and I was like, oh, this is a really good movie. And
and then you had to convince me because I was dragging my feet too. I'm like, I don't want to watch this movie, dude.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I think you'd really like it. It's got a cool, mad scientist vibe to it. And I'm like, I don't know. And then I watched it. I ended up loving it.
Yeah. But
it's surprising. I feel like Human Centipede, like I almost laugh saying this, but like it's actually like a very artfully made film. Like
it is. I agree.
It's not just some like low brow. Like there's plenty of these like horribly made films that I've seen. I'm sorry to say that like are just trying to like gross you out as much as humanly possible. There's like literally nothing else to the film. But that film is like well made. It's smart. It's like it's extremely stylish. Like, I love the first and second one. I'm admittedly not a big fan of the third one, but
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement there. I kind of hate to bring it up about the third one, but I totally agree. First two are great, and both of them are well shot. I do think that the first two movies, like you said, are so artfully done. Even just the cinematography and everything. In my opinion, the third movie is intentionally, I don't want to say bad, but not artistic. I think that was part of. I think that's his intention. This is my. This is my take on it. Is the third movie is his way of making fun of big budget American remakes of movies, and since he couldn't afford a bunch of explosions, the Dieter Laser is his explosion in the movie because every line is just screamed. That's my opinion on it. But I have no idea if
I agree with you.
Totally wrong, but yeah.
I do
think that was a comment on it, but still, it was like.
I agree.
Because I love Lawrence, but the movie's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Dieter.
And like
too.
you said about Laser, but Laser I couldn't stand in that film. Like you said, he yells every single line. I really feel like that Tom Sixx had no control over that guy. Like, he just did whatever he wanted. And I'm like, why is he yelling every single line? Like, I honestly wouldn't have finished watching the film if it wasn't because I love Lawrence so much.
Yeah, from what I understand, because I've had Dieter on several times, he didn't want to play the role like that. It's why he didn't want to do the movie originally. So I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
And they just wanted him to be so over the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one, it's kind of like, if that's, I know you've said it before, it's kind of like the Andy Kaufman thing where the idea is great, that it's like your big spoof on things and it's kind of a stick it to the man. Yeah. But then when you actually watch it, it's like, Jesus, this is a terrible movie.
Yeah, I think it's sort of like Freddy Got Fingered. I like the idea of Freddy Got Fingered, that Tom Green made this movie and tried to put all this stuff in it that, like, he knew was bad and, like, shouldn't be in a movie. But it doesn't really necessarily make the movie good. But
yeah, you don't really need to ever see the movie after that, though. Yeah.
But I like the idea. And I like almost everybody in it. So, like I said, it's very hard to talk about. The first two are great.
Yep, agreed.
But a Serbian film, that's the only movie that our mom, Troy and I, our brothers, our mom watched after I talked about, and she just kind of looked at me and said, "What is wrong with you?"
Oh my God! Your mother watched it.
She did watch it.
Well, she likes horror flicks as much as we do.
But she just thought, like, what is wrong with you?
That was out of her wheelhouse, so I think.
Yeah, I actually watched Human Centipede 2 with our mom.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, and I told this to Lawrence the first time I met him. So when Lawrence is there in his bedroom, my mom looked at it and she said, "Hey, that's you in 20 years." And so when I told that to Lawrence,
my God.
when I told that to Lawrence, he said, "In 20 years?" I was like, "Well, I guess more like in 3 years."
That's amazing.
Yeah.
My mom wouldn't watch this crap if I paid her.
Yeah, it's kind of like why I watch. Well, I mean, I probably liked them anyway. But my earliest memory of seeing a horror movie is Troy's 9 years older than me, a single mom, so she would take me along to the drive-in, instead of being a babysitter or whatever. And I remember I was like 5 or 6 and saw Night of the Living Dead in the drive-in. And I apparently started to cry when the truck explodes and they start eating everybody. And our mom just told me, "Oh, it's okay. I'm just having a barbecue." And then I was okay with it after that.
We're completely calm.
Yeah.
Just having a barbecue.
Yeah. And I was like, "Oh, okay. That's cool then." Yeah. But I turned out totally fine, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
You're a good man.
You're a perfect study for it's good to show horror movies to kids.
Yeah, exactly. So you mentioned a website, and you mentioned we mentioned some of the things you can get if you donate for the Stylist. So I hate to ask this question, but what happens if you don't get the money for the Stylist in the Kickstarter?
That is a great question. We will find a damn way to make this movie one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
I can't not make this movie.
Mm-hmm. Good. Well, good. I want to see it. And how can people follow you yourself on Twitter or social media?
At Jill Sixx on all the social medias, or you can follow the Stylist at the Stylist Film. We're on everything: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can keep up with the campaign and see all the stuff we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and I want to give a shout out to another mutual friend of ours. That's the Kaufmans, both of them, but Erica Kaufman, who was very happy that you were coming on the show.
Love Erica and Zach. They're amazing. I feel like I see them more like when we're both out of town at a convention than, and we both live in the same city is what I'm saying. Like,
oh, okay. All right. That was okay.
But they're always, for those who don't know, they have their company Atomic Cotton.
Yeah. They
make amazing shirts, and so they're always at a convention somewhere in the country every weekend. I never know where.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they have awesome shirts, which I have to buy new ones because when I used to buy Atomic Con shirts, I was wearing 4X shirts, and now I wear extra large, sometimes a large. So I need to restock on my horror shirts.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And if anyone's out there who wants some cool horror shirts, because I know some of those sizes are hard to find, I'm going to sell them at some point. Or maybe I'll skip them away. I don't know. But yeah, they're great people and great shirts. And Lou Rasconi, also a great guy, and his art is always awesome. But that poster for the Stylist, I just love that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Everyone go on our Kickstarter and order it.
Exactly.
Only place you can get it.
Exactly. Well, this was a lot of fun, and we'll have to do it again sometime. It's always a good time having you on the show.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right. So everyone check out the Stylist on the Kickstarter. First, go watch the short. I highly recommend it. It's great. Not just because Joe's here. I really dug it. Which someone has told me in the past that if you listen weekly, you can kind of know if I really like something or not, because I'll say, not just because they're here, this is good. And apparently I don't say that all the time.
Oh, man. Now you're in trouble. You've been called out.
Now everybody's going to go back and check out each show.
Now you've got to make sure you say this every time from
now.
I
just got to pretend, yeah.
You son of a bitch. Why did you say that? You didn't say that with mine.
Yeah, I probably should have mentioned that. But so go check it out, and then go donate. Like shit, if you got $10,000, cool, but even if you got $5 or $10, that's really cool too.
Yes, please.
Very good. All right. Well, we will talk to you soon. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Scream Queens, bad dreams. This must be